So here's a quick introduction to shooting water droplets that we demoed at the Barry Photo Club on the March meeting, 2014. So I'll go through some of the basic things that I mentioned when I did the demo. This is simply a glass cup that's turned upside down. I prefer using glass because it's clear, it's transparent, and it matches the water drops that are splashing off. The only thing that I would like to make a point of is the top surface here is concave. There's a dip in the middle. You can see my finger is dropping into the center. So you've got a little well of water that when you pour the water in, it's deeper in the center. So when you drop your water down from a height and it hits in here, you're going to get that better splashback than you would get off a flat surface on a cup or a mug or whatever you want to use. The background material is velveteen. You can get fabric at Fabricland, get offcuts at material stores. It's just a plain colour that's gone behind the photo. I like using the black velvet material because it absorbs the light. The photos have this jet black background and you have to do very little work afterwards to them. Okay, this is an extension tube made by Kenko. Available from Henry's, eBay, or any camera store that carry camera equipment. Relatively inexpensive. The full set of Kenko tubes. Yeah, it's a 36mm, a 20 and a 16mm for around about $150–160. If you like shooting macro, they're a great addition to your kit, available for Canon and Nikon. If you're using a different camera like Pentax or Olympus, you could have a tougher time finding these. But all they are is simply a hollow tube that they literally put my finger right through it. There's nothing on the inside, there's no glass elements. This one comes with electrical contacts, so it maintains autofocus. The lens transmits electronic exposure information back to the camera, which is pretty useful. You can get these without the electrical contacts for a little less. I would suggest spending the extra money and getting these contacts. It's well worth it. So one of the questions that I was asked since my demonstration last night was, I was using two flashes. I shoot them in at a 45-degree angle each. I just skinned the back of the glass when I'm shooting the water droplets. But as you can see here, the flash is on camera. You can use the pop-up flash in your camera if you don't have one of these speed lights for your camera. If you don't want to spend the money on the Canon flash or Nikon flash, you don't have the budget for that, Young Nuo or an inexpensive flash that's made, available on eBay. The Canon one that I have, the Canon compatible one I should say that I have, cost me $80, and it's every bit as good as the Canon one. It's got the same power output, same level of control. It's fabulous for the price. So yes, you can use one flash on camera to capture this. The reason you use flash is simply because the flash is what freezes the water in motion, and that's essentially what you want to capture with your water droplets. One of the other questions that I also got asked during the demonstration was what my camera settings were. These will vary from the different lighting situations that each of you will be in. My suggestion is, you can see here I'm a manual focus. I'm at 1/60th of a second at f8, sunspot metering. I pre-focus on the glass, and I take a couple of test shots. I get my exposure right before I add the water to the top end of the glass or the mug that I'm using, and that way my exposure is set up. I just have to add the water and drop the water in. One other useful piece of equipment that's worth having is a release for your camera. It's kind of hard to be near your camera when you're dropping water into it and pressing the shutter button. You can get these at Henry's, eBay stores as well. They're pretty inexpensive if you do a third-party market. You can get the brand name if you want. There's really not much difference between them. They just trigger your shutter. It's easier to hold this in your hand and drop water in at the same time, standing in the middle between camera and your glass. Plus, if you do a lot of long exposures, you want to shoot at night, it's a great addition to have it in your kit. So here you can see I have my jug of water ready. I've got the turkey baster in there, and I've already sucked up some water into the tube. So when you're doing your water droplets, you don't want to squeeze it hard so you get a jet of water flowing out like that. Instead, if you hold it at almost a level angle, just slightly off tilt, and give it a gentle squeeze, you'll start getting drops that flow at a pretty steady rate. So my trick is, when I focus on the glass, I usually focus in around the actual center spot, and when I'm doing the water drops, I'm aiming to get the drops to fall into that. There's no exact right or wrong way of doing this. The height is going to vary. The higher up you'll get different effects of the water droplets splashing out, how the water splashes back up at you. So it's worth playing around. You are going to take a lot of shots to get this right. My rate is, I take about 100 shots, I get 5 good ones maybe, and I layer them in Photoshop to create a composite image. So the next section of this will be in Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop. I've gone through the images that I photographed of the water droplets, and I've selected about 6 that I like. I've gone through this selection of images, and I've selected these based on where the droplets are coming off the glass, where the splashes appear on it, and I've selected these based on the premise that I'm going to create a composite image. I'm going to take elements from each photo, add it to a base image, and create a final image that I'll save as a JPEG with it. Just, you take several pictures, you're not going to get it perfect in any one shot. So it's just my way of creating the water droplet image that I'm happy with. So I'm going to use this one as my base image. It's a pretty clean image. There's no water drops in the air, there's not much spray. So I'm going to do perhaps add this one in first. I like the splash at the side, the water drops are coming down. Didn't quite freeze the motion coming down. My shutter speed wasn't fast enough, but I still kind of like that you see the water drop is in motion, it's coming down fast. So to add that over to the other image, I'm going to select my move tool and left click with my mouse, and just keeping the mouse button clicked, I'm going to drag it to the base image, and you'll see the little plus sign is on the cursor on the screen. So that means you're adding in something. So just let go of your mouse button, and pretty much from there you're lining up your image as much as you can with the original image that's underneath. So my trick is to drop the opacity and then try and line up the edges as much as I can. I want to line up the edges at this side because this is where I'm going to be adding these details in. So that looks pretty good. It looks like pretty straight edges here. So I'm going to bring the opacity back up to 100%. And because this layer is on top of the original background, you're not going to see the background image anymore. So I'm going to use a layer mask to put the details in and retain the original image as well. So the little trick that I use for this is I reverse the image mask. So if you're on PC, press your Alt key. If you use Mac, you're pressing your Option key, and then you're going to do the layer mask tool at the bottom of the layers palette. It's the square rectangle with the circle in the middle. So when you click that, you get this additional box on your layer. And normally with a layer mask, black would paint in the details, white will paint it out. But because I've reversed it,
with using the Alt or the Option key, white is going to paint in the details. So you're basically selecting the brush tool, and you're painting in the elements of the second layer that you want in to add into the original picture. So there's our little splash that's at the side of the glass. Um, you can use the letter X or the little arrow key here to switch over between your white and black. So you can decide which details you want to retain from the original picture, which ones you want to add in. And just add in the water spray coming off at the side. And I'm going to add in the water drops that are coming down. You can see that the flash didn't quite freeze it. My shutter speed wasn't quite fast enough. But I like the motion blur, or the motion that's in it. It gives a sense of how fast the water drop is coming down. That's pretty much, it looks pretty good. There's not much I want to add in from the other picture. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten this layer. So if you're on PC, you will be pressing Control Shift and E, or if you're a Mac, Command Shift and E, and it just flattens your layer, so you still have just the one background layer. You can, if you want, create a new layer and just merge the changes up to it, but this method is much simpler. And you're just going to repeat this process right throughout for each element that you want to add in. So I'm just looking at this. I'm not quite happy that these are at an angle, so I'm just going to straighten them so that it looks more they're falling directly straight down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lasso tool, and I'm going to just create a little lasso, freehand lasso around these water drops. And I'm going to press Control, or if you're on PC, Command, and the letter J. It creates a duplicate of that little section that you highlighted with the lasso. The reason I do this is if you don't put it on a duplicate layer and you try turning it, you're going to end up with white space in behind the water drops, and it's a bit of a nuisance to try and paint in the black afterwards. This is just an easy way of doing it. So if you press Control or Command T, and nothing happens, you get your bounding box that comes up like this. This is the transform tool in Photoshop, and it will allow you to rotate objects in it. You can change the perspective and the angles. It's a pretty versatile tool and worth playing around with and getting to know. So you see, as I'm moving my mouse around, the angles that you can see on the screen, the cursor is changing. So you see I've got an angle, the right angle one, and as I turn it, it tells me how much I've tilted it. So I'm just going to turn it off so that it looks pretty much like it's coming down straight. Maybe move it over a little bit, so it's looks like it's just about to hit down into that little puddle of water down there. Looks pretty good about there. And I'm just going to hit the enter key and commit the change. So I'm just going to select my brush tool and just paint out the water drops that I don't want in the image. So just using the black brush to paint that out in the background. So there we have, we've added our little splash at the corner, we've added the water drops coming down, and I'm going to repeat the merging down to the background layer again, the Control Shift E. So out to one of the other images, to select something else. And I like this little splash that's down here in this area of the glass, so maybe we'll take this one over and add this in. So you can literally spend hours adding in little elements like this. It comes down to how much patience you have and exactly what you want to see in your end image. And I just want the water. I'm just looking at this area here where the water is in, so you just get the little splash up, and then look, the splash looks like it's going to cast off out this way. That's looking pretty much where I want it, so let's bring the opacity back up. And once again, I'm repeating the Alt or Option with the mask layer, reversing it. and then using the paintbrush with the white to paint in the splash that's at this over this angle. You can see that there's a slight change in exposure here where the light hit differently. So I'm just going to use the switch to the black brush, make my brush a little smaller, and just try to keep the original color as much as it can so it all looks like it was shot at the same time. A little bit of cheating, but hey, this is Photoshop, right? And again, merge it down to the bottom background layer, and you can do as many layer images as you want with this. Maybe add the drops coming off here at the edge. And this is shot at a different angle, but you know, we can maybe make it work. Let's see what happens when we pull it over. Let's drop the opacity a bit. I'm just looking. I just want these two end water drops that are coming off the bottom rim, so I can position them, you know, pretty much there, so they look like they are coming off. And once again, bring up the opacity, pressing the alter option, and go to the layer mask. And let's switch back to the white brush, so we're painting in the extra image detail or information from the other image. Bring up the brush size again, and so yeah, this is painting in those two drops that are coming off the end of that rim. It's actually three. So yeah, it looks like the water is splashing out. You got your little splash up, got your little spray off, and you got your water drops coming down. So I'm just going to flatten that. The only other thing that I would perhaps do to this picture is because there's so much negative space here, it's not really doing anything for the image, so I might just crop it in and doing it the lazy way. Just pulling it across, crop it, and see, yeah. So the focus of attention is the glass. Don't need all the negative space, so I was doing nothing at the side of the image, but that's pretty much the general idea. A great suggestion last night was to use colored, full coloring in the water, so you get the colors. So you can play around and do all sorts of things, and I look forward to seeing everybody's attempts on this.